Alright, today we're going to be fixing the lumbar power support on my 1993 Corvette C4. The lumbar support hasn't worked since I've had the car, and we're just going to take a look and see exactly what we need to do to fix the lumbar support. As you can see, nothing happens. You can hear a slight click when I press the button, but beyond that, it doesn't work. Okay, the first step is going to be to remove the clip that's holding the seat bottom in place. You can see it right here. This is it. You gotta pull and then pull it over these retaining two protrusions, I guess. And the seat bottom will just lift right out, pretty much. Comes right out. And now you have access to your lumbar pump, which is this right here. There are two small Phillips head screws right on the back. So we're going to use a thin, small Phillips screwdriver to remove these. The bottom one is blocked slightly by the seat rail, but you should still be able to get to it if you have a small enough screwdriver. Alright, that bottom screw is a little bit fiddly, but got it out without too many issues. So this clip, tab, basically should pop right out. There we go, comes right out. And that gives you, ooh, look at that mess. Alright, and put that to the side. And this should actually just slide right out. Yep. And you can see how the pump diaphragm has actually fallen to pieces. And here is the pump head. And look at that diaphragm just completely destroyed. So I put that center section to the pump to the side. Some instructions have us removing these three pump lines. I didn't find that actually necessary. You can just take off these 4 screws and this whole thing will come apart and you'll be able to do whatever you need to do without removing these. And these can be kind of a pain in the ass because this is 25-year-old plastic and God knows what will happen if I try to take them off. So now I've gotten all of the 4 screws out. This just should come apart like that. And we can just leave this in the car, and we're going to bring this and everything else we took out to my workbench. Alright, this is everything we got removed from the pump. Bring it over to the workbench. I already took apart the passenger side pump. And this is the old diaphragm. You can see it's actually fallen apart into 3 separate pieces. It's pretty bad. So first we're gonna take this screw out of the pump head. Actually, might need a bigger screw for that screwdriver. And actually a little trick, you can put a small screwdriver through this hole, and then now you can get the necessary amount of torque to get that screw out. So that comes out. Here's the pieces of the old diaphragm. You're gonna need this washer, so keep that. But you can put this to the side for now. Then in here, we're gonna want to remove the remnants of the diaphragm. And what you can do is just lay this over. What I'm using to replace the diaphragm is a piece of bicycle inner tube. This is from a mountain bike. I've already cleaned off the powder or residue from the inside of it. But you can just lay it over, trace an outline and just cut it out carefully. But since I've already done the passenger side, I've made a template, and I'm just gonna follow this and cut out my new diaphragm. Alright, I've cut out the new diaphragm. Chances are it's not gonna fit in It's close, but it's a little bit too big. So I'm gonna trim off the edges just a little bit, just so it can fit a little bit better than it does right now. So I've trimmed up the new diaphragm a little bit more, and as you can see, it fits much better now. So now we just need to find the center of this and punch a hole. This diaphragm is actually roughly 1.25 inches. So you can use that, 1.25 inches in diameter. So you can use that to find the center of the diaphragm. Found the center. Doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but it's close enough. And we're just gonna punch a hole through. It should be good. Yep, it's through. You're gonna wanna put a little bit of thread locker on this screw hole, just to make sure that the screw doesn't vibrate out. I'm using red thread locker, but that's the only thing I have. So what I might do is I'm gonna thread it through the diaphragm first. Push it through. This is it. Thread it through. That's all the way through. Now we put it through. Towards the end it gets a little tough, so I wouldn't do that same trick from earlier. Makes it much easier. And get it snug, don't get it too tight, but just snug it up. And that should be good. Now we take the housing that we had, and you make sure you put this piece facing outwards here, this way. So this is the concave side here. And you're gonna want this hole to be pointed towards one of these flat sides here, not at an angle, just based on how the pump has that rod and how it's lined up in there. Okay, now we just gotta put everything back together. This goes on here. And we'll just put those 4 screws back in and slide everything back together. Okay, so I've snugged all 4 screws up with the nuts on the back. You can see the hole for the rod of the pump is right there. And you can see the rod itself is right there. So now you're just gonna slide it back in as you took it out, same way. And then once it's in part way, you can line up that hole with the rod. You can use a small screwdriver to kind of finagle it in. Just do whatever you gotta do and get that rod inside. I've managed to get the rod where it needs to be. And now we're just gonna put this backing plate back on with these 2 screws. And we should be good to go. The pump's back together, and now before we bother putting the seat back completely in, we can try out the button and see if the lumbar pump works. And you can hear it going. And I want to say it looks like, yep, it's definitely inflating. So we're good. Now we just gotta put the seat back in, put that clip where it belongs, and that's it. Thanks for watching.